Nikdam Raisha. Here we go. About 10 lines down, I'm giving Lulav. The top of the Hadas cuts off. We've went from Lulav world into Hadas world. Taniula, Barachinina, Nikdam Raisha, Valspa tomorrow. The top is cut off, and a Tamara date grows on the top kosher. Boy, Rav Yirmiyah. Nikdam Raisha Me'erev Yom Tov. Valspa tomorrow. Be Yom Tif. What's the halacha? Because we just said if it has a tamar, it's kosher. But this an Erev Yom Tov didn't. What's the halacha? What's the shayla? Ma'u. Yesh dichlei tzemitzvah zaylai. Says the Gemara. Tiv shalei mihaditanan. Let's bring a raya from the following. Kisov in iskale. If the dam was covered up, the halacha of kisei dam, and then it became uncovered. Potter milakases, you don't have to cover it again. But that's if you covered it. Kisahu aruach. If the wind covers it up, chayiv l'chasas. You have to cover it again. The only time when the wind covers, you have to recover it is if what? If it goes back and it becomes uncovered again. Potter milakases, it was covered and everything is covered. And we wondered and we pondered and we queried. When it becomes uncovered again,
if you went ahead and you covered it, and then it got uncovered,
you're good to go. Because you did an action.
Potter.
Why? Meaning you did it, you're good. If the wind covered it, and then the wind uncovered it, then you have to cover it again. If the wind uncovered it, in which case, in this last case of when the wind blew the dirt on top of the blood, so if the wind blows the dirt on top of the blood, and then no wind further blows, it does not get revealed again, then Batim Lakasis, cause it is currently covered. But now, we wondered, again, you covered over the blood, incorrect. The wind covered over the blood with dirt. And then what? Another wind blew and uncovered it. Why are you obligated to cover right now? Why don't we say once the mitzvah was pushed away, once the wind came and covered it, once you lose the opportunity for a mitzvah, it's lost. V'amar Rav Papa, and Rav Papa responds and says, V'amar Rav Papa, Zoisay Meres, Ein Tichoy Eitzel HaMitzvahs. Zogt Rav Papa, you know why you're obligated to cover? Because we paskin Ein Tichoy Eitzel HaMitzvahs. It's true it was pushed away. However, that does not affect going further. Says the Gemara, so why don't we bring a raya from Rav Papa to our shayla? Our shayla is you have a hadas that top was cut off Erev Yom Tiv, and then a berry grows on Yom Tiv. Could it be kashered? Says the Gemara, we have a raya. Rav Papa taught us ein dichoy eitzel mitzvahs, and therefore what? The fact that Yom Tiv started and it was possible is not a problem. Says the Gemara.
It's cut for Yom Tov, and now it grew by itself.
So it should be kosher. So Shaila is doing say yesh dichoy. Yesh dichoy would say once it's possible, it's possible.
When covered it.
That's what the Gemara is saying. Very good. So why don't we bring a raya that what ein dichoy etzel mitzvahs? So now pushed off the fact that Erev Yom Tov was possible. I don't care about. Lamaisa right now there's a berry. Lamaisa right now it's kosher. Says the Gemara, you know why we don't bring a raya from there? To Rav Papa gufa mi ba'ile. Rav Papa wasn't sure. Rav Papa was a shayla. Mivshat pashile. Rav Papa worried, should we bring a raya from that case? De'ein dichoy etzel mitzvahs. That there's no dichoy. Lo yishna lekula. Lo yishna lechumra. That's one way to say it. Or perhaps safuki misavkile. In that case of covering over the dirt, maybe we're misupak, we're unsure. And therefore, what would you do if you're unsure? If this blood was considered covered, maybe we're just being machmir. Just cover it. What does it hurt? You don't obviously you don't make a mitzvah, a bracha. But what does it hurt? You get the mitzvah. But lekula lo yamrin. So we can't necessarily bring a raya from Papa. Says Gemara, good shaila. Teku. We're gonna have to wait for Mashiach for that one. Says the Gemara.
I have a shout out today that we learned two brachos that Rabbi Lulav ben Antaya the day that he became nasi. That all the kashas were answered.
Good.
How come we didn't answer the takers back and all the kashas in Gemara?
Interesting question.
And I mean, obviously the questions weren't asked. They
Yeah,
weren't.
I understand. Yes. Very nice. Says the Gemara lema kitanoi. Let's say that this aforementioned discussion is a machlekes tonight. What's the machlekes? Avar v'lokta. If you go and you pick off the berry on Yontif, Puzzle, Divri, Rav Elazar, Rav Sadik. V'chachamim machshira. The Chachamim say that what? It still is kosher. Says the Gemara, what is this machlekes between Rav Elazar and the Chacham? Now, let's be precise. As I'm reading this, I'm bothered, so I peek at Rashi. What's the case over here? What's the case of Avar V'lokta?
He went into Yontif, he picked up the berries, he ate them.
The berries.
You went to Yontif
Very good.
with the
Not
berries.
very good.
Had too many.
Not the aforementioned case.
No.
Very good. Good. Beautiful. That's the one detail I'll be honest. As I read it, I was wondering. Rashi fills in that detail as you both just said so perfectly. Talking about a case that there were too many berries and he got rid of them. Says the Gemara, Savru Adikuli Alma. Oh, there you go. Savru Adikuli Alma Lulav Ein Tzarech. So what's the machlekes? Everyone agrees you don't have to bind your lulav. Avim Tim Salemer Sarach again. Let's say you have to bind it, so would it be a problem that that's not kosher when it was bound? Lo yalfina lulav mi sukkah. We don't learn out from sukkah. What does that mean? Dechsev ba by sukkah. It says tasev eloy min asli. So even if you needed to bind the lulav, we would not say that what is an issue of tasev eloy min asli, which is an issue that has to always be kosher. If those two details are true, so now what is the machlekes Rav Elazar, Rav Sadik, and the Chacham?
What's the time?
What shaykh is that? Good, because when Yontif started, if there was a din of agud that you have to bind it,
Right.
so when it started, there were berries on it.
Okay.
When it started, the hadas was puzzle. When it started, you bound it together. Game over. There's nothing you can do right now because you bound a puzzle hadas. Who
I
cares?
picked up the berries and they made
It's
it.
too late.
kosher.
Oh, you made it, but it started not kosher.
We use a schlock.
Very good.
Puzzle. And we open it up and now the silk is kosher.
So that's a good question. And the answer there is that doesn't make it tassiv limina asir. Because the sukkah, you ask your Lam the Shikasha,
So,
the answer
when
is,
you put that thing, you're
the
not,
answer is when you put over a tarp, your sukkah is not kosher. But it doesn't make the sukkah possible. It doesn't make it not a sukkah. This is
can't make a
Lam the
relation with that.
can't make a leishib in there. But what's the chafsa? It's still a sukkah. Now, so when you uncover it, you're not recreating the sukkah. You're pulling it back to us. Your question is better than my answer. I'm giving you a fancy lumtish answer, but you have to say something like this. It wouldn't be. Tassiv and Asi would be
It's there.
if
you
you
can't
put up the cases we spoke about. You put up you have your you put up schach, which is puzzle, and then you make it kosher. That's tassel ben asi.
And just stop having the
Stop having an outside element which makes it not kosher. That's not going to make an issue of tassel ben
If
asi.
you built them under the schlock, that might be a
Oh,
problem.
if the first of you, that's because they never got the shame sukkah. I mean, this is heavy lumdus, what you're asking. It's a beautiful question, but that's that. So says to us, so what's the machlekes Rav Elazar and the Chachamim? Elazar ben Yaakov says the Gemara, my love kamifligi. This is the machlekes. Demand the apostle, according to the opinion that says it's no good when you pick off the berries in Yontif. Why? Because Savar Amrin on Yesh Tichleit and Mitzvahs. Very good that right now you took off the berries. But when Yontif began, what was the story? There were berries. It was muscle. Yesh Tichleit and Mitzvahs. Uman de Machshir Savar what? So maybe that is the machlekes.
What about Tasa Balaminus?
So we're saying Allah tzad that we don't care about Tassim and Asli. We're going within that. Answers the Gemara really just said, Loi, that's not the machlekes lesbian Yaakov Bechal. The Kuli Alma, everyone Loya Minani Ishtich Leitzal Mitzvahs. Not everyone holds on Dich. So what's the machlekes lesbian Yaakov the Chachamim? You know what the machlekes is? B'milaf lulav misakah. Do you learn lulav from sukkah like you just asked? What's with tasav lam and asli? That gufa is the machlekes lesbian Yaakov the Chachamim. Marsavar lo yalfina lumisakah. Marsavar lo yalfina. One teretz. He by saying another teretz. Isfir lam lulav sarach agad. If it needs to be bound, the kuliyam yalfina lumisakah. But the machlekes is v'achabulul tzarchayigam ifligi. So the Gemara concludes that could be the machlekes if we don't have a precedent to our case. We wrap it up when we talk about igod who plikta dani tanoi. Whether lulav would need to be bound is the following machlekes Titania. Lulav bein agud bein shein agud it's kosher. Famously Rav Yehuda Aimer no agud kosher shein agud pasol. My time of the Rabbi Yehuda, the famous Rabbi Yehuda, which we've had the last few blah many times. Yoliv lekicha me'agudas ezoiv. Ksiv ha'cha b'yas kachta l'cha b'yamarish. Ksiv ha'cha b'agudas ezoiv. That's my part aduma. L'kachta b'agudas ezoiv. Ma lahalan over there agudas be bound. Avkan aguda. For Rabbanan, lastly lekicha. Stop over here. And let's try once again. If we could, let's push the Chazarah to the next page as far as we could get. Siyata Dishmaya Shkoyach. Let's keep the Chazarah.